because I'm conscious of whether you want to go out for a walk before it gets dark. I will be, because Nicole and I don't do many steps with not many students here. So we try and make up excuses to go down to the blue building just to get a few steps up. But we haven't had many excuses today, so we haven't gone very far. So today I wanted to just have a bit of a reflection. And so I have been reflecting a lot during COVID, probably too much thinking time and too much time in lockdown, really. So I'm just wondering, how everyone has been getting along in the fourth lockdown. The feeling, I think, that is this going to be our future, and is this going to be, what we're going to be in for an indefinite period of time? This could be quite an overwhelming and almost a feeling that we're going to be stuck. We talk a lot about resilience in schools, but we never really know how resilient we're going to be until we're faced with a decision to either get up and keep moving or to be stuck in something. It's easy to be resilient when things don't go wrong, isn't it? So, COVID has proven that a lot of us have more resiliency skills than I think we ever really realized that we had. But when things don't go wrong, you don't know if you're resilient or not. So the real test is when things don't go to plan, when we're hurt, when we feel pain, or even when we're suffering from something. We certainly have been faced with a choice every single day, I think, with COVID, about whether we're going to be resilient or not. Are we going to get stuck, or are we going to keep getting up and going and pivoting, as the word is? Today, I want to shift our attention, though, from COVID to someone who pivoted and really navigated the most horrific circumstance that a human could face. This life experience, I think, has really put COVID into perspective. And it was interesting. I saw this TED Talk, and I saw the release of his book last year in about, I think it was October, and I thought, oh, this isn't a great positive book and story to be talking about and delving into during COVID. But I thought, no, I'm going to get the book. So I gifted the book to my husband, and we've all read it. And even though the theme is quite heavy, because it's, as I said, a horrific circumstance, it is the most enlightening and empowering and positive book I've ever read, I think. The individual that the book is about chose to look through a lens of optimism. It's about hope despite adversity, despite pain and suffering. His story can't simply be defined as someone who was resilient, because resiliency and his story is just not in the same sentence. It's beyond resiliency. So I wonder how many of you have read or heard about, ready? Eddie Jaku. Have any of you heard about him and his story? Well, we're going to talk about it. So if you want to know more details about the book, it's in actually the flyer that comes through with the email later. So Eddie was a Holocaust survivor. And something that you may not know about me is my first degree was actually in history and politics. So, there's just a little bit of a of a historian in me that, rises up a little bit every now and again. And so I was interested to hear about Eddie's experiences during the Holocaust. He has so much to teach us, though. Firstly, about having an attitude of happiness, and then he talks about the importance of relationships. So Eddie professes to be, as his title says, the happiest man on earth. I want to show you a little clip of one of his TED Talk, because he says it really well, and I think it's good to hear from the man himself. Can you hear that all right? No? All right, hold on one sec. Just need to check the audio. Okay, hopefully this you will now hear.
Survivor of the Holocaust.
Yes.
And a witness of the most tragic times in the history of mankind. I was a proud young German. I thought this was the best civilization that could be given to a young man like me. How wrong I was. On the 9th of November 1938, I returned from boarding school where I had lived under a false name for 5 years because I was a Jew. I lived away from my family like an orphan, getting an education and under enormous pressure and fear that somebody could find out that I was not Walter Schleif, who I pretended to be. I was in great danger. On that fateful night, I had arrived home, but my family had gone in hiding, and I was alone. I went to bed with my dog close by. At 5 a.m. on the 10th of November, 1938, 10 Nazis broke down the door of our house. And what they did to me, I'm ashamed to tell you. It was so bad that I believed, Eddie, you're going to die today. After they made me witness the demolishing of our 200-year-old house and murdering my beloved dog Lulu, who had tried to protect me. In front of my eyes, I lost my dignity, my freedom, and my faith in humanity. I lost everything I lived for. I was reduced from a man to being nothing.
I'll let you click on the link in the email attachment that I send if you'd like to listen to some more. But I just wanted to give you, I wanted Eddie to give you a little bit of his background. We have no understanding of what he saw or personally endured, and we certainly wouldn't blame, Eddie and all the other millions of Jews and internment prisoners to be eaten by the hatred and the spite towards those who they endured so much pain and suffering from. However, this isn't the case in regards to Eddie. Eddie talks about not having hate for anyone and the impact that hate can have upon you. Eddie turned an absolutely horrific, unimaginable experience into a mindset that's about changing the world for good. He promises that he would always, and this is just, I think, powerful and really simple at the same time, to be happy, to smile, to be polite, helpful, and kind. They're not earth-shattering concepts. They're not things that are not strivable. He's not saying that he's striving to be a millionaire or he's not striving to be perfect. He's just striving to be the best version of himself. Eddie turned 100 last year, and he attributes his good health to his happiness attitude. How beautiful is that? So if a man who watched incomprehensible acts such as the Holocaust, if he can choose a mindset like that, what can we learn from it? How can we master this attitude and keep picking ourselves up lockdown after lockdown after lockdown after lockdown? I'm humbled by his example. I'm challenged to try and make the most of every day, to be optimistic and focus on today and not worry about tomorrow. I'm not perfect. I strive to do that. There are days where it's not as easy, but I continually strive to focus on today, because that's what I've got power and control over, and that's what Eddie has been teaching through his book as well. As Eddie says, tomorrow will come, but first enjoy today. What does this look like for us? How can we make the most of every day? How do we put the challenges of each day to the side and keep moving forward? What can we do today to build ourselves up, to renew our energy, and to invest in an attitude of happiness? Looking at what we're achieving today gives our lives purpose, meaning, and a sense of fulfillment. Eddie writes in his book, I've learnt early in life that we're all part of a larger society, and our work is our contribution to a free and safe life for all. If I went to hospital and saw instruments that I'd made, Eddie was an engineer, and knew that they were being made every day to make life better, this gave me a great happiness. The same is true of every job you do. And this is where I felt like he was speaking to us and needed us to have this as part of our Wellbeing Wednesday, because he says, are you a teacher? You enrich the lives of young people every day. And then he goes on, are you a chef? Every meal you cook brings great pleasure into the world. Perhaps you do not love your job. Well, that's not us. Or you work with difficult people, and that's certainly not us. But you still are doing important things, contributing your own small piece to the world we live in. We must never forget that. Your efforts today will affect people you will never know. That's powerful stuff. Eddie's choice to be happy was also grounded in sharing his life with others. This is my second takeaway from Eddie's book and his life. I wonder also if meaningful and supportive relationships are the key to navigating a happy life. Sharing our life with others allows us to share life's experiences and life's great moments, but they also support us in the tough moments. They provide us with the empathic ear or the sounding board when we, look to connect with someone and to get that reflection support. Being in community can provide us with an opportunity to step out of our own world and to step into someone else's. Reflecting upon relationships and Eddie's relationships, I know it's really easy for me to take family and friends for granted. Reflecting to COVID, I feel that, we have a great need to catch up. And we've seen that during COVID, that we felt isolated from family and friends. Have we retained this sense of gratitude for the people in our lives? I really thought that after COVID and after lockdowns that we would remember the lessons, the value of slowing down, the value of people, the value of true and deep connection, culling the time that's wasted in our lives doing trivial things, savouring times with those who we love. Instead, I know that the busyness of life quickly returned, and time out and slowing down has quickly been left behind. During COVID, I started oil painting. It's now June. I've painted 1.5 paintings since January. And that's because I've forgotten about slowing down and about being mindful. It's the only activity that I can be truly mindful in. And we know that mindfulness regenerates us and builds our well-being. I've forgotten that. What have you forgotten to do that you learnt during COVID? Eddie survived the horrors of the Holocaust, and he knows only too well the value of his family and friends. Eddie says, here is what I learned. Happiness does not fall from the sky. He's quite dramatic in his writing. I like it. It is in your hands. Happiness comes from inside yourself and from the people you love. And if you are healthy and happy, you are a millionaire. And happiness is the only thing in the world that doubles each time you share it. He says, my wife doubles my happiness. My friendship with Kurt doubled my happiness. As for you, my new friend, because he talks about all the readers of his book and all the people that hear him speak being his new friends. He says, I hope that your happiness doubles too. Relationships are believed to foster good health. We know that. Our desire to care for ourselves, encouraging health behaviours such as good diet and exercise and increasing positive emotions, they all have a positive and beneficial impact on our body. And they're part of the desire to care for ourselves and part of being in relationship with people. Maybe this and Eddie's spirit of happiness have been the contributing factors to reaching his 100th year. Overall, feeling connected to others is believed to play a really key role in good physical and mental health throughout life. Eddie talks about not holding on to hate, but being compassionate, kind, and empathic. So how could this look in our lives? What could and should we let go of? Who could you show kindness and compassion towards? And I wonder what this outlook would look like when we see it in others. One reason that relationships are consistently linked with physical and mental health is that humans have a fundamental biological and physiological need for social interactions and connectedness. So how can we embrace this whole notion of relationships, connectivity, and happiness? Maybe over the long weekend, we can set ourselves a challenge of reaching out to someone. Maybe changing plans that would have been in place for the weekend is an opportunity to reach out and do something different with someone who we do have a relationship with, who maybe we haven't seen for a while. Maybe it's a neighbour, friend, or a relative. Maybe it's scheduling a catch-up, a walk. I think we might be allowed to have a cup of coffee in a cafe, I think, if we fight to get in there before everyone else so that we can be part of the approved numbers. Who can we all reach out to this weekend? Lastly, this is the last quote that I like of Eddie's. He says, please do not walk in front of me. I may not be able to follow. Please do not now I can't speak. Please do not walk behind me, as I may not be able to lead. Just walk beside me and be my friend. So it's turned into a bit of a book review, but a bit of a life lesson. It's a really, really quick read, but a powerful read. So I implore you, it's readily available in many good bookstores, as they say with reviews. It's a powerful book with some powerful messages. So I hope you take something out of today. And if not, there's a good book that you can read. All right. Have a wonderful, rainy, cold afternoon. And surely some of you are going to brave walking. I am. I'm going to do it. Come on, someone else.
No chance.
Susan, yes. Yes. I'm going to do it. I'm going to put my hat on and my coat and my gloves I've had on all day, and I'll put my dog's little coat on, and he will have no choice but to come.
I think Lisa will jump on the car. Thanks, Marianne.
You're welcome. Have a lovely evening, everyone. And see you all on site on Friday. Yay.
Yay. Bye.
Bye.